the third. And we're live. Nick, do we got
back.
you? You're in the Nick mobile there.
I'm in the Nick Mobile. We're out here. We're out here moving. I'm glad to be back on the podcast here. A little hiatus. Also, just had a newborn on New Year's Eve. But we're here. We're working. And we're live, and we're here to help the people.
Hey, what's one more fan for the Not Another Three Putt podcast? That's we owe you a thank you for bringing one more fan into it. We didn't intend the 8-minute trick. We ended up being 8 minutes late today, but that happens. Technology is always fun. Nick also actively dealing with a active buyer situation right now, so that makes it that much more fun too. But in the spirit of what's coming up here with this winter weather situation and this very cold weather we had last week and coming into this week, want to talk about paralysis by analysis and why buyers freeze sometimes, and how you and your team do a proper buyer consultation to answer some of these questions that a first-time buyer is going to have, and some hesitations, right? I think right now more than ever we're dealing with buyers that maybe feel exasperated a little bit. They don't know if now is the right time to buy. They don't know how to buy. So talk to us about the buyer consultation. That's something that I'd love to hear your perspective. How you guys do it, how you guys do it differently. Why is it valuable? Things you cover. What do we got?
Yeah, so it's very important in these first initial meetings, really in anything you do in life, but we're talking strictly about buyer consultations here, about kind of setting the standard for how it goes. So we're talking with our buyers, asking the main things. Have you talked with the lender yet? Or are you pre-approved? That is first and foremost. Do you got any questions? Have you talked with the lender? Are you pre-approved? Do we know what you can afford? Anybody can say, I want to buy a $300,000 house, $400,000 house, you know what I mean? Or I want to keep my payment at this. Well, we don't know that until you talk with the lender. We figure all that stuff out, and then we can go home shopping, because you don't want to go blind shopping, and I think that can happen from time to time, and people are blind shopping, and then they go out and they like something, and then they find out the payment's higher than they want, or they can't afford it. They got some debt to income stuff they gotta work on. So I think preparing yourself to put yourself in the best position so that when you actually are going out, you're not just wasting time, because people work, people have kids, people have families, they have all this stuff going on outside of just trying to find a home. So as a real estate agent, it's very important that you're not wasting, and I don't even want to say the realtor's time, but you're not wasting the client's time. And you got to help them do that. We do this every day. You and I, I'm a realtor, Tony's a lender. We do this every day. We know how it goes. We know what people are looking for. So I think getting prepared, talking with a lender first and foremost to see what they can afford, what they're comfortable with. Then we can start, our search. And then you narrow it down, and you have a path that you can see light at the end of the tunnel.
All right, so you would say there that I think maybe buyers misinterpret a buyer consultation as, oh, this is going to be high pressure. For you, it's not high pressure; it's high clarity.
100%. That's the biggest thing. You want to clarify. So that's the beginning of the process, but you want to clarify the kind of the whole process for them in a nutshell, what the beginning steps are, what's your next steps, and just keeping them updated throughout the way and being steps ahead of them of what's going to come next, so that way they're prepared for that, so they're not caught off guard by stuff, because that's when stuff can go awry. So
I think that's I mean, there's a lot of there's complexity in this stuff, right? But I think you guys work very, very hard to align the buyers, right? You're not pre-approved. All right, let's talk to the lender that's going to give you quality information, not just the information you want to be told, so you understand what it costs to buy this house or how we're going to buy this house, right? I think that's the number one thing that we see on the mortgage side when we're working with clients and trying to get them pre-approved is they have to ask themselves that question, right? How are you going to buy this house? And so you guys cover that in your consultation. What else? What else do you guys cover? It sounds like some next steps. You guys have maybe some checklist or some my needs and wants list. What do you guys have there?
Absolutely. Everything's always a process. So, they're the first start of the process, talk to the lender, get yourself pre-approved. All right. We got that all figured out. We're ready to rock and roll. We're ready. Where are you looking? That's an important question for the lender to know where you're looking. Are you looking at Indiana? Are you looking at Illinois? Where are you looking at those spots? Taxes can change things, as you know, Tony. Just because you can afford $400 here doesn't mean you can afford $400 here with $10,000 compared to taxes instead of $3. You know what I mean? Or vice versa. So where are we looking? Let's narrow that down. Let's start searching. Okay, you get under contract. Now what? I signed the paper. Okay, well, you're gonna have you're gonna have your time to do inspection. Usually that's about a week. From that, if there's some stuff that arises through the inspections, if there's a roof problem, which we just had with this one, if there's a HVAC problem, you're going to get a professional, maybe roofer, HVAC, whatever the problem is, to go out there and to assess that. So you're never just stuck buying the home just because you put an offer in and it's signed. You have protections in there. You get your inspections done. So you get through that phase, after that. Okay, so a lot of people think, oh, we're good to go. All right, we got through the inspection, we're good to close. Nope. Next step after that's going to be the appraisal process. And one, you want to make sure you're getting all the documents to the lender that are needed. That's important, Tony. But the appraisal process. Yep. The house has to appraise out, and it's like, well, isn't that what the realtors do? I mean, we do that in a sense, but when there's a bank loaning you money, they're going to get their own private independent appraiser out there to make sure the bank's making a good investment. So that's kind of the process, and then when you get through that, typically you're pretty on a clear path to closing.
All right. What do you think the biggest piece of misinformation is right now, that when you're meeting with these buyers during these consultations, it's misinformation, it's being amplified or put into these echo chambers and maybe creating more paralysis or more fear than it really exists?
Oh, that's a good question, because there's a lot of that out there and a lot of different scenarios. Man, that's a good question. You might have stumped me on that one.
how much? How much does Diana Orlick? What's her social media feed look like this week? Type stuff. I think on our side, right, we hear interest rates, and then we start to talk to buyers about interest rates and
okay, amen.
Talking about 0.5% interest rate increments on $100,000 is less than $60 a month.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. I'll hit that with you a little bit. There is the interest rates. Everybody wants to. We're going to wait till the interest rate comes down. It's going to be better, and that, like you said, doesn't make much of a difference there. We're not going to.
I have a database of 10,000 people waiting for interest rates to come down. So I think it's maybe let's wrap that up right now. Put a bow on the whole thing, because we're about to hit the 8-minute mark on this. So do you think that if you are qualified right now to shop in this current interest rate environment, you are going to have more success, neutral success, or less success if you're willing to tolerate today's interest rate environment?
You're probably going to have more success. I would say, you find the house that you like, and you have, when the rate goes down, you refinance it.
Yeah, that's I love it. I love the positivity there. I agree. Like, I think about it, if you're shopping amongst less shoppers or way more nervous shoppers, I think that you have the opportunity to sneak in and get that perfect house for you. And that's what the whole goal of it is, right? That's why we do the buyer consultation.
Yeah, one last thing before we go. I mean, the rates go down. Guess what's going to happen to the home prices? The competition. It's going to go up. So maybe you get a better deal on the home. You refinance it later to get down to a lower rate, and you got the best of both worlds.
All right, I love it. That Bears game, pretty exciting. Unfortunate, maybe arrived a little too early, but things looking up for maybe the Northwest Indiana, the Hammond or the Gary Bears.
Northwest Indiana Bears. Yep. I'll take it. You tell me you're going to beat the Packers twice, one time in the playoffs, and we're going to win the division. I would have taken that at the beginning of the year easy.
Yeah, I think, Nick, you got the whole marketplace covered, right? The Bears, they end up in Arlington Heights. You obviously cover Illinois. They stay at Soldier Field or Chicago. You cover Illinois is your thing. They go to Indiana. You got them covered. And for whatever reason, they end up in Southwest Michigan. You cover that area too, right?
The new Buffalo Bears. I can help them out with that.
I love it. Nick, how do people get in touch with you?
My social media is at Realtor Nick Oosting, Facebook and Instagram. Always reach out with that. My phone number is 630-284-9624. Always available.
All right. Well, hey, you go get that roof buttoned up in there, get that deal closed up, and we will talk to you in 3 weeks here. We'll talk about some Super Bowl stuff and everything else. All right.
Amen. All right, Tony.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
I'm done. Cut the show.